Welcome back to Sober on Purpose, where we talk about the areas around supporting a loved one who is in addiction or in recovery. This is for the families because, as we know, every addict affects 5 people intimately, which changes the whole scope of the process. In fact, there should be more people in these support groups than in the AA, the treatment centers, all those types of things, because we can and do have the power to change our families. So today I am interviewing Brittany Cano. She is a holistic nurse coach who works on elevating the well-being of your mind, body, and soul with holistic methods. She is also a nurse and has left that. We'll talk to her about why she has left the hospital work. But the reason I invited her is I was really stunned by her comments on the busy woman syndrome and cultivating sacred peace, because as my audience well knows, they have been doing everything for everybody all the time, to the point where anxiety and stress has crept up, sometimes some physical symptoms. And Brittany, I'm going to turn it over to you to share with us how that happens when we get so busy that we don't take time for ourselves.
It's sneaky, right? I don't know how many women I hear, "I'm just so busy," and we wear it like a badge of honor. I know I definitely did and really tied my worth to how productive I could be, and the more productive I could be, the better. The more I could take care of other people and do all the things, the better, and that I should be doing more. And so really this concept was inspired by Dr. Libby Weaver. She has the rushing syndrome. Or the rushing woman syndrome. I highly recommend that book. But really I just realized working with my clients and even myself personally, we don't realize the cost of this busy lifestyle, especially if we don't have a strong foundation. And I find like almost every human being spends a lot of their time in a survival mode kind of thing. And we don't even know. It's not something that we're taught. It's not something that we know. We just think that chaos or being busy all the time is just the way of the game, the way it is. And I think we underestimate like the value of true rest. I hear that a lot from women that I work with, like, I can't rest. I don't even know how to rest. And I know so personally because I was the same way. And if I did rest, I'd feel guilty. So I
Mm.
say, like, if you feel guilty when you rest, that's probably a good sign you have some busy woman syndrome going on. So
So
it's really it's go ahead.
that's one thing that should be a red flag, is if you take an hour out to read a book, take a walk, I don't know, lay down, take a nap. Goodness me. If you take time to do that and feel guilty about it, you're saying that should be a red flag.
That should definitely be a red flag. Or if you can't sit still, right? I can't sit still at all. I just can't. I need to be doing something. Like that's a sign, busy woman syndrome, where you're not sleeping very much because you get up for the crack of dawn and you're taking care of the kids, the significant others, the family members, the job, the animals. And then by the end of the day, there's nothing left for you definitely, and really
Absolutely.
for anybody else. And there's a lot of health effects of living this lifestyle. When we were younger in our teenage years, our 20s, maybe even early 30s, like we could do this. We definitely could do this and we can still do it. But now, as we age, it's like it comes with a cost. It comes with a cost. And people don't think that it's from, a lot of times I find that people don't associate it with their lifestyle, taking care of everybody else and constantly being under stress. But it can definitely be from that.
Give us some clues from your professional nursing background of how this busy woman syndrome can affect your health. What are some symptoms that start to show up besides the guilt at resting?
Feeling like fatigue, like I'm always tired. So I would say like you have to have caffeine, but then that I have to have alcohol at the end of the day to kind of calm down. Like
Mm.
that's a sign that hold on, something's out of balance here, right? Like my energy levels are in the tank when I wake up, but then I can't really wind down without some substance. It doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be some, another form of substance that's causing the opposite effect. It can be prescription medications. It can show up GI symptoms. Definitely
Ah.
can show up as GI symptoms like constipated, diarrhea, bloated. I have heartburn all of the time. Like I'm
Mhm.
just upset to my stomach. It can show up as, like I said, being tired or not sleeping, insomnia, or all I want to do is sleep, irritability, mood problems, right? And then because in these busy women, if you're busy all the time, your hormones are probably all out of whack, like that being in that sympathetic dominance, really, that fight, flight, or freeze so much of the time that's just like causes so many problems for our overall health. I think what they say, like 80% of hospitalizations, I want to say, don't quote me on this, are like stress related at the end of the day.
Oh my goodness. So my
Yeah.
my first husband,
Or doctor visits. I believe it's doctor visits.
yeah, I believe it. My first husband had an aunt, and I don't know if this is true or not, but she was hospitalized on a pretty regular basis right around the holidays. And the family kind of take on it was, oh, she just got overwhelmed and she needs a place to rest. So the hospital, instead of going on retreat, the hospital was the retreat because, and Christina Northrup talks about this, is the only acceptable form of meditation or rest in the Western culture is illness.
It's really true. And we have to, I feel like so passionate that we have got to start shifting that mindset and honoring rest. And especially as women, we're so cyclic, right? We're cyclic beings. We have a cycle. As humans, we're cyclic, but we're taught that you need to be busy, you need to be taking care of people, you need to be productive. That's the only way to do it. And our growth and life needs to be like this uphill, constantly scaling everything, and it comes with
Absolutely.
cost.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in your practice, what have you seen with women who, I mean, do you have case studies of women who have walked in with what they thought were physical issues, and once you worked with them, they were able, without medication or, any type of, I want to say, external uh, treatment
Yeah,
to
I call it
manage it?
lifestyle medicine. I definitely have. I've had people who've had like chronic aches and pains, like chronic, and then after working together, working through some emotional and spiritual stuff, alongside with making some moderate lifestyle changes. Well, I don't have that pain anymore. Oh, I have more energy, or oh, I'm realizing like I like my life, or I'm getting to know myself for the first time. And I think in that there's so much healing that happens when women start to like get curious about who they are and what's underneath these roles that we've had for so long, that I mean miracles happen, and it's an amazing thing. The woman I worked with, this is in the beginning when I started with transformational coaching. She came into the trainings needing to sit in a chair because she had a bad back. She was out of work. She was a flight attendant, couldn't work for months. By the end of the weekend, she was standing up, dancing, and wearing boots.
Oh, that's
No
awesome.
medicine, right? Yeah, no. I'm like that. That was at the beginning when I like first got into like coaching and all of that. And when I witnessed that, I was like, wow, I just, anything's really possible when it comes to healing. Like so many miracles happen. I mean, you probably see it all the time, right?
It's amazing, and I'm overwhelmed sometimes. I work a very simple process, and sometimes I get in the middle of it and I think this is never going to work. This is never going to work, and the self-doubt creeps in, and the doubt in the process creeps in. And then 2 sessions later, it's worked. It just is this flow piece. How do you Is it permission women need to get curious about what they need? Is it time and space? Is it lifting the guilt? How do you talk to a woman about coming out from underneath those layers?
I think it depends on the woman. I do. But what I'm finding more and more is just being witnessed, like someone listening to you and holding space for you, sharing, when you share vulnerably and being there and allowing you to do, like, be unapologetically you. Like that's something that I really support women in. I'm like, whatever hot mess or like the trauma or the part of you that eats a bag of cookies at night, like we give her love too. Like she's part of us too. And I think the more we can be like, come on over here, like let me give you some love, the more we can integrate with all parts of us. Because like as far as I know, the shadows, we work through them, right? Those things that we might not like about ourselves, but there's gonna be certain degrees of them always there. So the more we can embrace them and have somebody support us in that, I think that's so transformational.
What do you do with the woman who says the bag of cookies rings home, unfortunately? What do you do with a woman who says, I can't love her. That is a person outside of me. I can't believe that I still do that. I know better. I've got all the cognitive research, but I can't love her. Why? Brittany, why should I love her? She's evil.
With those clients, I try to find a bridge, right? I think it is Tara Brock actually who talks about this. It's like if you could even just a molecule of like towards that, towards you, right? Towards yourself. If you're like, I despise myself, you could just let a little bit of kindness into yourself. What would that be like, right? Because we always have to meet ourselves and meet other people where they're at. And so, and sometimes I'll be like, well, think of somebody that you like. There's got to be somebody in the world that you like, whether you know them or not, or a dog or a baby or a tree or a cat, something right out there, and connect with the warmth and joy or kindness or gentleness that you feel from that. And then sometimes that's enough to start to kind of like, can you find even a little innate goodness of yourself, right? Like if you can get them into that feeling, because sometimes we're so far removed or we're shut down, we don't feel anything. So it's meeting people with where they're at, and it's always a process. I think that that's something that I myself have been working on personally and in my coaching is nobody needs fixed, right? We don't need fixed. It's okay. Where we're at is perfect and beautiful, and from that place of wholeness, I think
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. That's one of the things that I talk about is you're not broken. You're creative, resourceful, and whole, just as the divine made you. You may have done some things that buried that a little bit, but it's there. So as we move into that, we got the bag of cookies. I'm not feeling good. How dysregulation is a huge therapeutic term. How would you unpack that? What are the cookies really solving for me?
Yeah. I mean, I can totally attest to this. I struggled with binge eating, bulimia for many, many years. So I know those bags of cookies very, very
Yeah.
intimately. And so, speaking from personal experience, it's like, like you have to start getting curious, right? If we're not curious, we're just going to keep going through the same motion over and over again. And so being curious about what's really going on here. For me, it was like I'm lonely, I'm eating my shame, I'm eating feelings I don't want to deal with. And so much of healing is that pattern interruption, right? It's interrupting it. Getting curious, most sometimes things happen quickly, but most change happens gradually, interrupting that. What is going on here? And looking at it from a physical standpoint, are you eating healthy food during the day? Did you not eat all day long? Were you taking
Mm,
care of people all day long? Were you stressed out all day long? No wonder you want the cookies. You want to self soothe, right? So then it's like backtracking from there to see, like, how did I get up to this point? And doing it
excellent.
before you get to that point. Because when you're in the cookies, it's like usually it's hard to turn back. So it's like earlier in the day doing that. What happened? What's really going on? What do I need? What support do I need? What's going to help me when I get to the cookies again tonight?
Right,
So
right.
much
And if
fun,
to
but
me, if you're at the cookies, it's still the opportunity as you're eating, as we're eating them, to take out your journal and walk back through the day. And like you said, did I not eat? Did I not show up for myself? Did I do everything for everybody? And I just didn't didn't do it for myself, because this is what I talk to my women about is you're reaching for those cookies as a solution, just like your addicted loved one is reaching for whatever their choice is for their solution. So the cookies are going to fix it in a way, right? But then guess who walks in? Guilt, shame, all those other things. So when you're working with women and you're talking to them about, okay, how do you have the courage to back up and look at your day as one Oreo is going in after the other Oreo?
Yeah, I like to like for women to think about what is it that they really want, and especially if you're somebody who's been outsourcing your power to everybody else and circumstances, it's probably a question you don't think about very often. But if you can really think about what is it that I really want for my life, why do I not want to keep eating these cookies, right? Like, what could be possible? And also, like, how bad am I feeling, right? When I get done with this bag of cookies, this shame, this guilt, this like, here I am again. And if you're listening to your podcast, I think there's that soul that knows that there's something on the other side of this, that there's a more fulfilling, way to live, and it's outside of the cookies. Not to say you can't have cookies, but I think we know what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's not that cookies, it's just like
Cookies
guns,
are
alcohol, all
fun.
those things. They're not inherently bad. It's what are you going to them for? Because one of the things that I've had to learn is the only acceptable reason to eat is when I'm hungry, not when I'm sad, not when I'm happy, not when I'm lonely, not when I'm tired. I don't need to fix those things with food because they're not a fix.
Right. I like to ask myself, like, how can I nourish myself? Or like,
That's a great
how
question.
can I nourish myself? What do I really need? There'll be a voice that's like, you need to eat the cookies. And there's gonna be another voice that's like, probably like you need some love, right? Like at the end of the
Right.
day, like we need to connect with that love, and being able to even know. I know, like you said, dysregulation is a big thing, but even if you hear this and you hear this from me, I want you to really hone in on this. Like we have the ability to create that internal safety. So much of the time we look outside of us for safety, for validation, for love, for the answers, for the fulfillment, for all of that, but there really are ways that we can create that inner safety and create that regulation within us. And I believe that's nearly anybody has that if they, seek those answers.
Well, let's step into that because you said something. I'm taking a few notes. That's why you see me looking down. Um, you talked about outsourcing your power. Can you dig into that a little bit more in the idea of, and pair it with the idea of internal safety, because they seem to go together.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So, say I've had a day where I had a lot of things scheduled in the morning. And so, for whatever reason, I didn't eat breakfast. I just grabbed the coffee and I went. And then here it is noon. I have another appointment. Maybe I still have a full bladder. Or maybe I haven't gone to the bathroom because I've just been on adrenaline. And then I end up having a conversation with somebody dear to me, and I don't like how it goes, and they kind of have an attitude, and I take it personal. And at first I try to fix it and be nice and like, hey, what's going on? And then they're just like whining, and then I get mad, and then I'm just like, feel it in my body. I have a then I end up later, maybe I have a headache, or I just realize like I just have a mood the rest of the day and I'm carrying that. So in that, we've done some things. We've dysregulated ourselves because we haven't taken care of our basic needs, right? We
Mm-hmm.
haven't been eat. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't covered the basics. We've been on the go nonstop. There was no rest. We're not hydrating. We're not eating. We're not fueling our bodies. And then we're here. We're trying to fix somebody else. Fix somebody else is having a problem. And there's a way that we could hold space for them, but not take it personally, or not think that it's ours to solve. And then we might take on the attitude of the other person or be upset because we weren't able to solve the problem or rescue or do whatever it is that we do. And so we've given our power away to our circumstances of the day. whatever, those are our busy schedule. And we've also given our power away to somebody who is having a bad day. Other people are okay. They're entitled to have other bad days. It's up to us to keep our boundaries. And so we weren't keeping our own boundaries by not eating, by not taking a rest, by not making sure we were in a good spot to even be able to offer support to the other person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it always strikes me. So my husband is really good at taking care of his needs. If he's hungry, he eats. If he needs to go to the restroom, he goes to the restroom. And I'm standing in the kitchen, I got a baby on the hip. I got one down there. They're all older now. And somebody's got a poopy diaper that needs to be done. I haven't been to the bathroom probably in the last 3 hours, all those types of things. If it were my husband standing there, he would put the children down, go take care of himself, the oxygen mask, and then take care of the poopy diaper because it's not going anywhere, right? We're not neglecting the child. It's just 5 minutes later. My shame, probably more than guilt, says, no, I need to get all of you settled before I eat, before I go to the restroom, before I take a nap, before, I make sure that these sweaty clothes I'm in, I take them off. It's just amazing to me that we got this message. So where do you think
Yes.
these messages are coming
Oh
from?
my goodness. Well, it's a mental construct, right? Because not all people in all of the world believe that, right? They don't all have mom shame and guilt, first of all.
Really?
Um, yeah. And we didn't start needing to be super women or super moms until recently. You think about it, it used to be the whole families were there to help you out. Like we got away from our tribe. So I think it's like we're taking on more than ever before, and it's unrealistic. It's so unrealistic to think that women can and should do all of these things, but we've somehow, encouraged our. I don't know what happened. I don't know exactly where it happened, but we can work, we can do all the things, but there's a cost, and there's a cost when we don't take a break to go to the bathroom. And I think it's messaging that's been passed down, and I think also that Byron Katie's the work, that inquiry of like, is it true? Like, is it true that if I hand the baby to my husband right now, go take 5 minutes and go pee, and then step outside for a few minutes, that everything's going to fall apart? And if your first answer is yes, it's like, is it really true? And then you're like, no, actually, it would be okay. But we've got to like start getting curious and questioning ourselves, like, is this working? Okay, this isn't working. What's going on here? What else? What's wrong? Like, what can I do to make this work? Because we run into the same patterns over and over. And if they're not working, there's an opportunity to shift it.
Well, and I love that you bring Byron Katie into this, because the work is really a nice, it's not a nice, it's a transformational piece.
It
So
really
if you
is.
haven't heard of her, she's got a couple books, and I think she has a YouTube channel now. She's worth listening to. And that's what I hear you saying, is this is a pattern and a story we tell ourselves, that it's not going to be okay if I hand the baby to the husband, if I go take a few minutes for myself, because I don't know, he might not do it right. The baby might cry. I might get triggered. Something might burn on the stove. Who knows?
Yeah.
The story that I'm telling myself. And that's what I find working with my own personal coach, worked with coaches in the past, is it helps me get out of the story that I tell myself, because I actually have to speak it out loud, and they look at me like, are you nuts?
You're like, hold on, okay. Well, I think it's so easy to think our current circumstance is a fact that's never going to change, especially if we've been in it for a long time. But the truth of the matter is, like, there are things that can change, and we have that ability to shift it and shift the story, because so much of it, right, is from like when we were kids too. We're living in that survival
Yes.
framework
Yes.
from childhood, but now we're adults and we're still trying to work it, and it doesn't. I think our soul or God, whatever you want to call it, is asking for more of us from that place
And
of
that's,
wholeness.
I can hear some of my audience going, we are in survival mode. I'm just trying to keep the bills paid, the children fed, things to school. We are in survival mode. So I don't think Brittany or I is downgrading that there are times in their lives that we are in survival mode.
Definitely.
Yet there are always choices. And that's when you said outsourcing your power. When you outsource your power of if he would just, or if this had gone better, or if that had happened better, then you're outsourcing your power. So how do you come back to that sacred peace?
And you come back to breath is, I know it sounds so simple. The breath is such a powerful way to come back to ourselves and back to the present moment and create an internal safety to get off of that like rat race, that fight, flight, or freeze, that feeling of survival inside. Like big breaths down into the belly, that diaphragmatic breath. It sounds too simple to be true. Honestly, it's one of the first things I have clients start doing, and a week later they're like, I can't imagine, like, I can't believe how much just paying attention to my breath and deep breathing has helped me. So that's a really great way. And yeah, definitely not downplaying it. You know, that there are times when we are living, you know, in survival, and it's okay. Like, there's no shame in the being in that survival, right? It's a place that many of us have been in and are still in. But like you said, it's like, what do we need to do to create that internal safety, and how can we empower ourselves? And one of the things we can do is look at our choices and look at what we can change. And sometimes we think we can't change things, but we actually can. And I'm really firm on, like, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. Yes. And changing, like you said, changing the breath, taking some of that time for yourself. And I know that one of the things that you do is you teach meditation, and you teach people how to manage through meditation. Big meditator myself. I can tell when there's a day that I haven't done that. And I fought it for years. I'm like, I can't think through this. There's 18 billion thoughts going through my head, and I can't sit still and all of that. But now I have, it's better than the bag of cookies.
Yeah, it is. It's our natural medicine, right? It's a medicine that it's natural, it's free, we can do it anytime. And there's so many forms of meditation too. For the person who's like, I can't sit still, I can't shut off my mind. Point's not to shut your mind off. That's what our minds do, is think. But there's walking meditations, right? There's affirmation meditations, there's watch a candle meditation, there's mindfulness meditation. You just bring it into whatever you're doing. So yeah, I believe there's a form of meditation for everybody, even the person who can't sit still.
How do I not bring my friend, Miss Perfectionist, into my meditation practice? Because she really wants to come and show me how to do it and show me what's right and all those types of things. How do I, because I know a lot of meditation is about accepting us for where we are. How do I say, Miss Perfectionist, what do I do with her?
Yeah, I get that. I thought meditation was like a sport. I'm like, everybody around me is doing this better than me. I'm like, what does that even mean? Well, even the fact that if we can recognize that, oh, my perfectionist is like my judge, my perfectionist, my critical self, whatever you want to call it, is here right now. Like, if you can acknowledge, oh, I'm doing it again, or oh, she's here, there's a separation already. Because then who's witnessing the perfectionist, right? So there's already a separation, so we can be like, okay, well, that's not actually all of me, right? Otherwise, how would I know that it's here? And then it depends on I think it depends on your personality. For some people, they want to be gentle with the perfectionist. Like, oh, you're here. It's okay. Just come sit by me. We're going to do this. You can try to be perfect, but don't worry about it. And for others, we might need to be like, hey, girl, I don't need you in here right now. You've been working so hard all my life. Just give me like 5 minutes. And others might be like, yeah, you're not doing it to me today, but thanks. So I think it's really like getting to know the essence of these like critical voices that we all have, whether it's
Sure.
perfectionism, imposter syndrome, not enoughness, shame, guilt. And when we can like identify anxiety, when we can identify them and have a conversation with them, then we can like kind of take our power back from them as well. From these little
That's
sabotagers.
awesome. That's awesome. So when you were first starting to meditate, you said you thought it was like a sport and you're looking at your neighbors. What kind of thoughts ran through your head? What did you have to work through to be able to do it?
Oh, I was like, I suck at this. Everyone's so much better than me. Like, I don't even know how to do this. Am I doing this right? And then you like look at that inner dialogue. Like, that inner dialogue's not just showing up on meditation, right? Like, it shows up everywhere. I'm eating. Are they eating better than me? I'm talking. They talk better than me. Whatever, right? So you can learn a lot. And so if you're new to meditation, if you can just start to bring in that curiosity piece of, oh, okay, this is how I think all the time. This is like thoughts that come up all throughout the
Nice.
day. So you get that awareness. And then in mindfulness practice, it's like, can you be gentle, a little gentle? Can you be compassionate? Can you start to bring in some kindness? Like, oh, I'm judging again. Okay. Just bring it back to whatever your focus point is, whether it's the person leading the meditation or your breath. And I think when you can take that pressure off of, I always tell people, there's really no doing this right or doing this wrong. So that alleviates a lot of like expectation. And
Sure,
it's like
sure.
anything, right? The first time you cooked a dinner, you probably didn't know how, or the first time you started your job, or the first time learned how to do your podcast or whatever we're doing, we didn't know how. But the more we
Mhm.
show up, the more it becomes that muscle, right? That muscle memory. And then it's like you said, it's your favorite thing. It's better than cookies.
It is better than cookies. It is so much better because it doesn't come with the guilt and shame. That's a low level better. The reason for me that it's better is exactly that conversation that I get to play detective, because that conversation, every time I sit down, that conversation is going and I get to go, oh, that's what that was about today. Oh, that needs some attention. But if I just keep running at full pace, it doesn't turn out well for my family, for my coworker.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know about you, I spent most of my life running. And so now I'm
Yes.
like, oh, something feels off. And then, like, if I can sit in meditation, I'm like, oh, it was the way that engagement or, that interaction earlier today, there was like a disconnect in our communication. And actually, that kind of hurt. And so, like, then
Yes.
we can come back and self soothe. But if we don't ever take our time for ourselves, we just layer it up. But it's okay. Like there's always, there's always an opportunity to take a minute, take a breath.
Yes. Yes. And that's one of the things that I teach is positive communication with spouse, child, whoever, whole family. And a lot of times it's like, well, they should speak nicer to me. And it's really them and it's not me. And that sense that I just can't do that. I can't do that. Well, what I found is, and I imagine you found this to be true too, is I'm speaking really negatively to myself. And as long as I'm speaking those nasty words to myself, it's really hard for me to portray something positive on the outside. And I think
So true.
for me, that whole switch into meditation is what flips the trigger. It's like, okay, I'm going to speak really nicely to Tanya and then to spouse and children and other people.
Right. Yeah. We never have the control of the other people, but somehow they're mirroring something back to us, like you said,
Isn't it?
whether it's like, oh, this is actually how I talk to myself internally, or like, oh, yeah, this is how I'm not having a boundary for myself, or oh, this is like how I'm talking to them, actually. Like, oh, they're talking to them like they're
Like,
talking to me a little bit.
yeah,
Maybe it's
we're
a
queuing
little
into this
dressed
is our
up.
language.
Yeah. Maybe I made mine more proper, but yeah.
Well, Brittany, I asked you before we started if you, at the wind down, if you would kindly do a meditation for us. A great gift for me, for the audience. Before we do that, can you talk you've got a retreat coming up. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like and who that's available for?
Yes, yes, thank you. And thank you so much. This has been so much fun connecting with you. So yeah, the retreat, it's going to be our sixth adventure wellness retreat. So I say this is a combination of fun and freedom, adventure combined with taking that time to really nourish your mind, nourish your body, nourish your soul, connect with nature. So it's a good balance of both. This one's in Costa Rica. It's September, end of the month, September 24th to 30th. And so people come who've never meditated, people come who've never experienced anything like that. We're a really inclusive group. I'm huge on people feeling safe and supported and being met with where they're at. But there's daily movement, there's meditation, mindfulness, a lot of healing activities. It's It's in a beautiful place. It's close to the Pacific Ocean, but nestled back in the jungle. So it's a really good time. If anybody would like more information, I think they'll have it so that they can contact me.
So we'll put some links down below, but if they're just listening on the podcast, website is
holisticnursecoaches.com.
So it's Holistic Nurse Coaches. There's an ES on the end of it.com. And if you
Yes.
get even close, I found that it'll come up. Holistic was a little hard to spell.
HOLISTIC.
Yeah.
That just means
Well,
all parts of you, not just your
awesome.
body, not just your mind, not just your spirit or your emotions, everything in your life.
So, and if I understand you don't have many slots left, that it is pretty full. But if
Correct. We
you,
have 2
is this
spots.
women and men or just women?
It's almost all women, but there's a few
Okay.
men. So spouses are welcome if you want to bring them with you. But at the moment, my husband is the only man signed up. But usually we'll have a few guys who end up coming. It's
Awesome.
primarily
Awesome.
women.
So
Yeah.
if you're really feeling like you need a recharge, like you need something to reset and some time to, for me, I would say pull myself together, but other people might say just rest and recovery, that life's been moving a little fast.
It's perfect for either of those. It really is. I mean, people are coming back on the same retreat to the same location for the 3rd time. We have such a great time. So some people come like they do want to reset and recharge. Other people are like, I really want to focus on these habits. Other people just really enjoy being in this environment of healing and fun. It's a very therapeutic environment.
So whatever your reason,
Yeah.
check it out because Brittany's got some spots still available. Costa Rica is, you do need a passport, but just right in our backyard, easy to get to, and truly lovely people in Costa Rica as well.
Yes, very beautiful culture.
So as we close out, Brittany, would you be kind enough to lead us in just a short little meditation, centering yourself, sacred peace, your choice, whatever you'd like to do.
Wonderful. Yes, I'd love to. Thank you so much, Tanya. So if you're not driving and you're at a place where you can close your eyes down and that feels safe, you might want to do that. Close your eyes down. Otherwise, maybe just start to relax your eyes. But wherever you are, try to create a sense of safety. So it might help you to go up against a wall, close a door, and go ahead, feel those feet on the ground. This is a tool that you can use anytime to help bring you back to the moment and bring you back to your center. So feeling your feet on the ground. Start to feel the support surface underneath you. Just take a moment to affirm that you are being supported. Sometimes in life it might not feel like that, but the fact that your feet are on the ground, there's support underneath you, an affirmation that you are receiving support. And then start to just notice your environment, whatever you can do to make yourself more comfortable, go ahead and do that. And there's no need for you to stop your thoughts. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no wrong or right way to do this process. But I'm going to invite you to listen to my voice. And if your mind starts to wander, just bring it back either to my voice, to your breath. You might even bring it back to your feet on the ground. So we're going to start by breathing in through the nose, letting the belly rise, and exhaling through the mouth. We'll inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. A few more breaths like that. And really allowing your chest and belly to rise on the in-breath. And on the exhale, let the exhale, the out-breath, be longer than the inhale. Now bring into your awareness anywhere you may have left your power today or your energy. And I want you to imagine calling it back to you. You can leave the love, but calling your power, calling your energy, calling that peace of mind back to you. You might even imagine it's just filling you back up as though you were a beautiful vase. And all of your energy, all of your power, all of your peace is coming back to you. And as you start to receive what is yours, start to feel more grounded, more open, more calm. We're going to take a few more rounds of breath. You might even say to yourself, breathing in peace and breathing out calm. Breathing in peace and breathing out calm. 2 more breaths this way. And letting your breath come to a calm flow. Taking a moment to acknowledge yourself. Giving yourself appreciation, kindness, maybe some positive words or words of wisdom for being here in this moment, exactly how you are. Maybe you open up those shoulders a little bit more, take up a little bit more space. Just really owning who you are, how you are, all of it. Perhaps affirming, I am enough, I have enough, I trust myself. And then feeling those feet back on the ground. You might notice anything in the space around you, connecting with your senses, any noises, any sensations. Maybe there's even some smells. And then very gently, whenever you're ready, if your eyes were closed, you can open up those eyes. Taking a few moments to look around, get used to having your eyes back open. Ah.
That's wonderful. Brittany, I really want to thank you, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So we'll have all your links below, and I look forward to hearing just more about what you're doing.
Thank you, Tanya. It was a pleasure.